There once lived a boy named Ravi in a quiet village nestled between lush green fields and winding rivers. Ravi was known by everyone as the laziest boy in the village. From sunrise to sunset, he would be found sprawled on his cot, gazing at the clouds drifting by or lost in daydreams, while others hustled about their daily tasks. His mother would call out to him to fetch water from the well, help in the fields, or simply clean up his room. But Ravi always had an excuse ready. "Later," he'd say. "I'll do it after I rest a bit." But later never came. The chores piled up, the garden withered, and his schoolbooks gathered dust. Ravi's father, a hard-working farmer, worried about his son's future. He tried gentle words, stern lectures, even rewards and punishments. But nothing seemed to spark Ravi's motivation. The villagers pitied the family, shaking their heads and whispering, "That boy will never amount to anything." Ravi heard these words but shrugged them off, convinced that life would take care of itself somehow. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills and the village glowed in the soft amber light, an old traveler arrived. His clothes were tattered, but his eyes sparkled with wisdom. The villagers gathered around him, eager for stories from distant lands. Ravi, ever curious but too lazy to walk over, listened from his porch as the traveler spoke of great cities, towering mountains, and the wonders of the world. But it was the story of a mighty tree that caught Ravi's attention. "This tree," the traveler began, "stood in a barren land where nothing grew. Every day the wind would howl, the sun would scorch, and the rain would wash away any seed that dared take root. But this tree, though tiny, refused to give up. Its roots dug deep, its leaves stretched toward the sky, and slowly, it transformed the land around it into a lush forest. The tree became a symbol of perseverance, admired by all." Ravi pondered the story long after the traveler had gone. For the first time, he wondered if, like the tree, he could change himself. That night, as he lay on his cot, the words of the villagers echoed in his mind, mixing with the traveler's tale. "Will I always be this way?" he wondered. "Is laziness all I'll ever be known for?" The next morning, something shifted within Ravi. Instead of staying in bed, he rose before the sun. The village was silent, dew glistening on the grass. He walked to the well, his feet heavy but determined. The water was cool, and the bucket heavier than he remembered, but he brought it home, surprising his mother. She smiled, not daring to hope this was more than a passing whim. Ravi's transformation was slow. The first few days were the hardest. His body ached from unused muscles, and the urge to lie down and give up was overwhelming. But each time he felt the pull of laziness, he remembered the tree from the traveler's story and pushed himself a little further. He helped in the fields, even when the sun was hot. He studied his books, even when the words blurred together. He cleaned his room, one corner at a time. The villagers watched in disbelief. Some whispered that it was a miracle, others joked that perhaps he'd been bewitched. But Ravi ignored the gossip. He set small goals for himself, celebrating each victory. He learned that overcoming laziness wasn't about grand gestures, but about choosing action in the face of comfort again and again. One day, the village announced a festival, with games and contests for all. There was a race across the fields, open to anyone who dared. Ravi had never run a race before. He'd always watched from the sidelines. But this time, he signed up. The other boys laughed, certain he'd give up halfway. But Ravi remembered the tree, how it grew despite the odds. The race began with a burst of energy. Ravi struggled to keep pace, his legs burning, but he refused to stop. Halfway through, his breath came in ragged gasps, and the urge to quit was strong. But he pressed on, step by step, until he crossed the finish line. He didn't win, but he finished, and that was victory enough. The crowd erupted in applause. Ravi's father ran to embrace him, tears in his eyes. For the first time, Ravi felt pride, not just from others, but from within. He realized that his battle with laziness was not just about chores or races, but about proving to himself that he could change. As weeks turned to months, Ravi became a new person. He took on more responsibilities, excelled in his studies, and even started helping neighbors. His reputation changed from lazy to hardworking, and the villagers began to look to him for help and advice. The transformation was not instant, nor was it easy. There were days when old habits tempted him, and moments when he wanted to give up. But each time he reminded himself of the tree, of its quiet strength and unwavering resolve. Ravi's story spread far beyond the village. People from nearby towns came to hear how the laziest boy had become an example of perseverance. Ravi would smile and tell them, "It wasn't magic, it was daily choices, small steps, and the belief that I could be better." In time, Ravi's journey inspired others. Children who had been told they were too lazy or too weak began to try. Families supported one another, celebrating even the smallest victories. The village itself changed, becoming a place where effort and growth were valued above all. Ravi learned that overcoming laziness was not about becoming perfect, but about trying, failing, and trying again. He discovered strengths he'd never known, and friendships he'd never imagined. And most importantly, he proved to himself and to others that anyone can change, no matter how deep their habits, if they choose to act. So, if you ever feel weighed down by laziness, remember Ravi's story. Know that you are not alone, and that change is possible. Start small, take one step, and keep moving forward. The journey will be difficult, but every effort counts. Like the tree in the traveler's tale, you can transform your world, one choice at a time. And one day, you too will look back and realize that you have overcome the impossible simply by refusing to give up.